Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I'm going to interview one of the great comedic character actors of television and film of all time, Walter Olkewicz. You may remember him as Dougie in Grace Under Fire, the French guy in Twin Peaks, and he was in so many great movies, 1941, Making the Grade, Heartbreakers, The Big Picture, and we are going to talk to him today. Before we start, though, I'd like to say happy birthday to my dad. I will call you later today, Dad, and I hope you have a happy birthday. I love you. Now, let's get started with the interview of Walter Olkewicz.
Hello.
Hey, Walter, it's Tommy, and we are live.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, I guess there's no chance in postponing this a half an hour, huh?
I guess not.
Okay, let me get this headset on. Hold on.
Okay.
Hello, Tommy. I'm sorry. There we go.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time this morning. It's such an honor, and it's Oscar Day.
Exciting day.
Yes, it is. So your first movie was 1941.
Yes, it was. I got to work with all the biggies in that one. That was exciting. Had some exciting things happen on that too. I was supposed to only work for one day, one line, and we were what was called a cover set, meaning that they were filming outside, but if they decided, because of the rain, if the rains came, to film inside, then they would go to us and film our scene, which is a little scene in the barracks.
Uh-huh.
Well, I just come from a improv group that I was part of for years, and I took the chance, and I just made all these directing choices of my own, and changed to this and that, and moved John Candy around here, move here, John, we'll do this, how about if we do this, and I just took over, and I, of course, made myself a main part of the whole festivities.
Yeah.
And finally, after about 4 days, it rained, and they came in and watched what we had put together, mostly me at this point. And Stephen loved it. He just, that's exciting. That's really funny. That's great. We'll use that. And then he, after about an hour of just getting the camera set up, he said, you're very funny. Are you doing anything for the next few weeks? And I said, oh, God, no. And he said, oh, okay, well, we'll have somebody call you tomorrow. And the whole crew applauded, and everybody applauded because they knew what had just happened was he was going to upgrade me and keep me in the movie. And I wound up working like 28 weeks on it instead of one day. So that was fun.
Nice. Yeah, I worship Aykroyd, Belushi, and Candy. I mean, they are some of the comedy greats.
Oh, of course. Really, really great, good people. Yeah. And more talent than you can imagine, yeah. Especially the things, in fact, I do remember one day standing on the side with Mr. Spielberg and looking at some of the stuff Belushi was doing and just saying, the hardest part about working with him is, what do I cut? Every single cut we do is better than the next, and every time you pick one, I better let go of 3 others that are just as funny, that are different,
Yeah,
he was the best. In fact, John was very nice to me. I had just auditioned for what was kind of the TV version of Animal House.
Yeah.
And I was down to the last person, and then Josh Mostel got it instead of me, and I was just heartbroken. I thought that was going to be my big break.
Oh.
And I went and told John about it, and he told me a whole story about how he was up against Josh Mostel for something, and he lost it to Josh, and he thought that would be the end of his career because he just had his heart set on something in Canada. And he didn't get it, and 2 weeks later he got offered Saturday Night Live. So he said, there's something around the corner that'll be even better. Don't worry about it. And sure enough, Delta House, which was the name of the TV series, only lasted 3 weeks, and it was canceled, and it never went anywhere. So, not that I'm glad for that, but it was in fact not the big break I thought it might be. And anyway, better things came of my career. And even though Josh had some things that he did, I kind of think I got to do more than he did, and that was nice.
Yeah, Josh Bosdell is a great actor too. Yeah, this has always been one of my favorite comedies, and it's so underrated. I'm glad it didn't kill Spielberg's career, because otherwise we wouldn't have E.T. or Indiana Jones.
It was popular in other countries. It was the #1 movie in Japan that year, so they kind of loved the humor of poking fun at their Japanese history.
Yeah. And then you did another childhood favorite of mine called Jimmy the Kid.
Really?
Yeah.
That was fun too. Man, good stuff. Yeah, that's great. Got to be very close to I forgot the woman's name. Sorry, I'm on a lot of drugs still with these knee injuries.
Yeah.
The woman that was in E.T.
Dee Wallace.
You know these people.
Yeah, Dee Wallace.
Dee Wallace, yeah, Dee. Yeah, Dee and I got to be very, very close. I had a little trouble with Paul Lamad. He's kind of a goofball. He's weird. He was weird. Probably had been about 3 people in my entire life that I didn't get along with, and he was one of them.
Wow.
And one day, in fact, we were coming around this corner, and he said to me, don't you care about living things? And I said, I don't understand. What do you mean? He said, every time we come around this corner, you're stepping on all these ants that are right there crossing on the pavement. And I don't know. I never even thought about it. But he decided that I didn't care about living things if I was stepping on ants. So that was Paul Lamad. The proudest he told me all these stories about how proud he was that he turned down these movies that had gone on to be great movies, but he didn't do them, and he had these pride reasons, like he was supposed to do. What was it? He was supposed to do the Buddy Holly story.
Oh.
They had picked him to play Buddy Holly first.
Yeah.
He wanted it to only be Buddy Holly's music, and they didn't have a way to make that work that way, and so he passed on it, and he thought that was a sign of his integrity. And what else? He was supposed to be in the one with about. God, memory's bad. I'm about to be 70 years old and I'm starting to show. The Carradine brother about Woody Guthrie, that movie.
Bound for Glory.
Yeah, he was supposed to do that one and just had the same kind of thing. He didn't want to do it because it was disgraceful. It was disrespectful to to Guthrie. And he just in one scene he actually. There's a line in the movie where I point a gun at him and he said, I say, come on, John, there's no bullets in there. You can hurt yourself if you have bullets in there. And he's supposed to get mad at me and walk away. He actually slapped me across the face, like really hard, what's the matter with you? Boom.
Yeah.
And the director stopped him and said, what's his name? Nelson was the director. He said, what's the matter with you? Don't you ever touch or hurt another actor without discussing it with me first, unless it's totally choreographed. And he threw him off the set for having done this. And Dee had a lot of, God, I don't want this to be a bitch about Paul Lamad. He's really he was quite fine in a couple of different movies. He was a good actor, just a little goofy in the head. So,
yeah.
Anyway. In fact, the first time I worked with Ruth Gordon, it was kind of funny. If you know who Ruth Gordon is.
Yeah.
Wonderful actress. She was in Rosemary's Baby and some good stuff. But I did a movie with her. Well, you're talking about Jimmy the Kid. I'm sorry. First time we worked together. Because I got to be really good friends with her. I talked to her for years on the phone and stuff. She was great. She said to me, my husband, who's Garson Kanin, was really a big fan of yours, she said to me. And I said, oh, really? Yeah, he saw your movie last night. I thought it was just incredible. And, is it okay if I call him and tell him, would you just say hello to him? I said, yeah, of course, that'd be great. So, I knew Garson Kanin, and he had written a bunch of the movies with Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn and They've written a bunch of movies together. Garth and Kanan is one of the most famous writers in that period of Hollywood in the 40s and 30s.
Yeah.
So I got on the phone. I said, I understand you're a fan. That's really nice. And he said, oh, yeah, we saw. And he started to describe the movie that Paul Le Mat had done. So I said, oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't me. That was Paul. And I had just done a movie that I thought he was going to talk about.
Yeah.
He got me mixed up, and Ruth got me mixed up. So actually, I said, let me get Paul for you, so you can say hello to Paul. So anyway, almost got a big compliment from a great writer, but didn't get that one.
Wow.
Ruth is funny. I have a great story about Ruth Gordon.
Go right ahead.
Ruth Gordon and I got to be so close. She was a major Yankee fan, and I was a big Dodger fan. Mm-hmm. And we used to all the time. We'd though in fact, when she was on Carson one night, I gave her a Yankee jacket after the film wrapped.
Yeah.
She wore it and said, "Yeah, my friend Walter gave me this," and all proud of her. She was a big Reggie Jackson fan. I had Reggie Jackson's name on the back for her. And I said Gordon, but it had his number. That was what. And then the Yankees played the Dodgers in the World Series that year, but we wrapped before the final game. Well, the final game, the Dodgers won like 11-1 or something. It was this great win for the Dodgers. And I called her that night. I said, Ruth, the electricity's out on my street, and I can't get the score of the Dodger game. And and I knew they'd already won 11-1. So can you tell me what the score was? And there was this little pause, and all I heard was, "You son of a bitch." And she just hung up the phone. So I got her. And my Dodgers won over the Yankees that year.
Nice.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've met Dee Wallace at a couple horror conventions. She's very nice, a little feisty, but nice.
Yeah, we like that about her. She's great. Yeah, she had a lot of trouble with Paul also, from what I remember. Yeah, she just wanted to get him. But she was great. She invited me to a bunch of things after that to be like a speaker or judge in a contest or something.
Yeah.
And we stayed really, she's wonderful. She was very supportive when I first started having my health problems to make some donations and get some people to donate.
Right.
So she's been great with that too. I love Dee. It's so wonderful in E.T. Mm-hmm. Just really captures that. At one time when Barrymore curses, says something rude or something, the way she laughs and scolds her at the same time is really nice acting.
Yeah.
Nice piece of acting. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And you did a short-lived series called Wizards and Warriors.
My the height of my dreams come true stories. Somebody asked me once when we were in the middle of doing it, how do you like doing this series? I said, you kidding me? This morning we got on a horse and fought dragons and then got to fight another monster in the afternoon. And
yeah.
Are you kidding? I love it. It's just the best of all times. It's like every kid's dreams of this. And yeah.
Yeah, this was like right after Conan and the Beastmaster. It was just before Highlander, and then years before Xena Warrior Princess. This is like one of the first sword and sorcery movies, or shows, I mean.
Yeah, it was either an hour late or an hour early. I don't know why it didn't work. What did we do, 11 shows, and we were last in the ratings every week that we were on.
Wow.
It just never made it. So shocking. It was shocking to me because I loved it. I thought it was a really fun show.
Well, everybody knew Jeff Conaway from Taxi, and I guess they wanted to see him in a comedy setting and not an adventure story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He didn't know how to play that very well. I mean, I think the cast was brilliant, except Jeff didn't quite get. He didn't quite know. I'm kind of very critical on this show. I should be nicer to people. I love Jeff. Jeff was one of the nicest people to me that I ever knew. In fact, I was at his bedside the night that he died.
Oh.
I was in the hospital when he died of some overdose things that happened to his body.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that you had to play that seriously. You couldn't play Wizards and Warriors exaggeratedly because it was a comedy, or you had to do it as serious as you could, which everybody else got. I mean, Duncan Regehr, one of the most brilliant actors ever, got it, and certainly, the princess got it, and it's funny. Clive Revel, who played one of the villains in it, he was the first play I ever saw. I grew up right a few miles from New York City, over in New Jersey. The first play I ever saw was Oliver, and he was a lead in it on stage. So, as an 11-year-old, I looked up on stage and said, "I want to do that someday." And lo and behold, 20 years later, I was doing a series with the very man that was the lead of that show.
Wow.
That was a nice story, nice feeling. Clyde was wonderful. He was great. Good villains, good. I thought the show was wonderful. Don Rio, wonderful producer. Loved him. Good writer. In fact, the last show we were going to do before they canceled the show, and then we didn't do it, it was written that we fall into this water and come up riding on dolphins. Riding on dolphins. So how are we going to do that? He said, "We're going to bring somebody in to teach you how to ride on dolphins." Okay, that's what I was looking forward to, and scared to death of the week we got canceled. We didn't have to ride on dolphins.
Wow. And then you did a movie called Making the Grade.
Another fun movie that was fun. Judd Nelson, good experience. I loved it. I think the satire in that was incredible. That's the one that most people, when I was walking through airports, would come over to me. I could tell if they were a certain age. That was usually the movie they would talk about. It was a lot more popular than it actually was on, in the box office. Going on for a long time. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it was also one of Andrew Dice Clay's first movies.
Yeah, I had a scene with him.
Yeah.
I had a scene with him where I did my Godfather imitation. He was out the car, yeah. He was quite wonderful, yeah. I love his comedy.
Yeah, it's a funny movie.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. And then you did Heartbreakers, which I think is a very underrated movie.
Yeah, Bobby Roth. He's got to be your friend because I did a movie with him called Mystique that I won all these awards for, which was really wonderful because I played a guy who was beaten up and tortured in this cage. It was actually a true story of a company that ran this training program for the executives where they were tortured to make them face their problems and do better work. It was from a book called The Pit.
Yeah.
And that's how we did it, pretty straightforward. And there's a scene where I'm just beaten and tortured and, confess that that I had this affair with my mother and all. It was just one of those things from an actor's point of view where you go, yeah, that's kind of impossible to do, and how could I possibly do that? And then once you do it, you go, well, I'm never going to be afraid of anything again as an actor as long as I live, because I got through this. Funny experience with that. It was they wanted somebody much heavier,
right,
to do this part, and when I went in to read for it, they gave me like an hour because they just told me I got cast this by noon today. And go in there, and I went in and I did one of the probably bravest things I've ever done, but I didn't see any way out. I said, "This is too difficult to do with an hour's prep. I can't. If you can give me till tomorrow, I'll knock the shit out of it, but I can't do it right now."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, I could do that as a lead in a movie, And they looked at me and looked around and said, "Yeah, okay, we can wait till tomorrow." And I went home and worked on it for 10 hours and came back and kicked the shit out of it. It was really one of my best auditions ever, and got it and got some awards. And Anthony Quinn was one of the producers on that movie. And Anthony Quinn, was one of the producers, and he called me after he saw the dailies, and he said, I like what you did with that. You're like a Nazi. You're the crazed look in your eye." I said, yeah, that's what I was going for. Good experience. I went back. It was in a competition in Colorado at this college that I went to, Colorado State. And so all my old teachers and professors, there I was on stage with Anthony Quinn and director Bobby Roth answering questions about this movie that, all my teachers were in the audience. It was great. And in fact, there was one point where they asked Quinn a question, and I knew exactly what they were talking about. And I said, no, Tony, let me take this. And I answered the question. So my teacher said, can't imagine you would talk to Anthony Quinn that way. I said, yeah. kind of felt like I had the answer to that one.
Wow.
Good. Great experiences, yeah.
Any good stories about Peter Coyote?
I'm sorry, about Peter Coyote?
Yeah, any good stories about him?
I only worked with him a couple of days, but no, not really. I didn't know him very well. I only did a little part on that movie. I wish I had done more.
Yeah.
I sure like his work, though.
Yeah, he's one of the greats, I think. And then you did The Big Picture with Christopher Guest.
Christopher and I we used to play softball together.
Yeah.
On Sundays behind the Fairfax High School in Hollywood. And he brought me in for a couple of things. I did Johnny Appleseed with him, and I did The Big Picture with him. And he said, I want you to come in and play Babe Ruth in this movie. I said, oh, cool, that'd be kind. He knew I was an athlete because we played together.
Yeah.
So, except Babe Ruth was a lefty and I was a righty. So I came in, and they actually, he was very proud. They had gotten an actual Yankee uniform from 1927, an exact, and that wasn't a duplicate. It was a real uniform. Well, I was a lot bigger than that. It wasn't Babe Ruth's uniform, or else maybe I would have fit. But so they had to pin it up on the sides so that every time I swung the bat, all the pins would pop and the uniform would come off, and I'd be in my skivvies. So unfortunately, we did 3 or 4 takes with the crew laughing all the way because all my pins were popping as we swung every time. But always good to work with Chris. He's a very talented director.
Yep, sure is. A great improviser, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, one of the best.
And then,
what else you got? I'm knocking him out of the park. You're doing good.
Thank you. You did Twin Peaks, and you still are.
Yeah, I just did that. First time I worked in 12 years because of my health issues. Great fun. David called me and said he wanted me to be in it. I said, well, I died in the last one. He said, I'm going to have you play your own twin brother. I said, okay. So if he wanted me in that bad, I certainly was going to accommodate. And I was real scared because I hadn't worked in 12 years.
Yeah.
So I get up on stage. I got up in front of the camera. He had this long speech to do. There was a phone call. Did it in one take. One take. It was perfect. It was really good. Everybody applauded, and yay, I'm back.
Nice.
Back.
Nice. Yeah, one of my favorite actresses is in the cast, Timmy Robertson. I met her at a convention a couple of years ago. She is just so damn funny with that little voice.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. I love Kimmy. We did a couple of conventions together.
Yeah.
It's always sweet as can be.
Yeah, I got an 8x10 signed photo by my bed of her.
I can understand that. Yeah, good lady.
And then, of course, you got to play Dougie on Grace Under Fire.
Grace Under Fire. There was an adventure.
Yeah.
Great people. Yeah, great people the first couple of years, and then Brett started going through some of her problems. Yeah, hard to work with her sometimes. But so talented in the first couple of years that we worked together. I loved her. She made a lot of enemies because she just, she didn't know how to handle her addiction, I think. She just slashed out at everybody in the room.
Yeah.
That's why we lost so many producers, but a funny show. Very, very talented lady. In fact, when she got out of rehab, she had not worked in about 4 years. She was doing a little stand-up thing way down by San Diego in a little comedy club. I drove down there to see her, to support her.
Yeah.
And she had been really horrible to me in the last season that I worked. They went on for a year after that.
Yeah.
She apologized from the stage. She saw me in the audience and said, my friend Walter's here, and one of the most wonderful people, and he was really supportive of me, and I didn't treat her very well, and I'd like to publicly apologize. And Walter, can you forgive me? And I was in tears. I went up on stage and hugged her and cried.
Oh.
It was nice. She didn't mean to hurt people. She just had some things going on that she couldn't handle. It's hard when you're addicted to pain pills and the things she was on at that time. But talented lady, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes starring in your own sitcom can be a lot of pressure, you know?
Yeah, you know, and when they took her off I guess it was a Klein, Robert Klein kind of found her and suggested her and stuff, and they came down to see her, and she was so great. But all the stuff she talked about in her stand-up was about addiction and about, you know, you can't take somebody like that and put them on a series and not expect that the addiction's going to still be there. It doesn't go away because they give her a lot of money. In fact, it usually makes it worse. Yeah, but a good time for me. Just great to be on a show that I loved and worked with the most incredible actor, Paul Dooley.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites, man of history.
Yeah,
another person that's been really supportive of me through my hard times. He and his wife wrote Wicked. She's one of the writers of Wicked, and an actress too. She was in Jerry Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
Also, yeah, Winnie, her name is his wife's name.
Yeah. Also, Tom Poston was on the show.
Yeah, I worked with Tom years before that in Love Boat.
Nice.
So we renewed friendships there. One of the history of my life is growing up watching Steve Allen and Tom Poston and Don Nye and, you know, all the people on the Men on the Street on the Steve Allen show. Another one of my family. You know, all these stories are how wonderful I am. I hope that's okay. But
yeah, that's okay.
But I worked with Steve Allen in a thing giving out food to the homeless on Easter, and I was so excited because he was my main influence. I think when I was growing up was Steve Allen, and I went over to him. And when I had done The Last Resort, which was the first sitcom I did with Gary David Goldberg producing that, I'd gotten a letter that had been sent to Paley, the head of CBS, from Steve Allen, singling me out and saying it's one of the funniest people I've seen on television in years, and he is so great. And, you know, so I got a copy of that letter. I had it on my wall for 10 years. So here I am working with him in this giving out food to the homeless. And I went over, his wife, Jane Meadows, was also there. And I went to Jane. I said, you know, she wrote a letter to me years ago about, you know, I said, but he's such a generous man. I'm sure he writes, you know, 100 of those a year. She said, no, he doesn't. He's probably written 3 as long as I've been with him. And she said, yeah, you were in that show where you played a waiter. And wow, she remembered. So I went over to him and told him. He was just so gracious. And oh my God, Steve Allen wrote a letter because he liked my work. My God, how higher can I get on my, you know, my own ego feelings of why I belong here. You know, actors always look for reasons that they belong, do what they're doing. Anyway.
Agreed, yeah.
And what's his name? Cameron Mitchell. You know who Cameron Mitchell is? Actor from the 40s.
I've heard the name.
I did this show with Lonnie Anderson and Linda Carter, Partners in Crime.
Oh, yeah.
And came back from lunch one day, and there was my chair. No one had gotten back yet from lunch, but there was my chair with Walter Olkewicz on it, and Cameron Mitchell, who played Lonnie's father, his chair was there, and they were like kind of overlapping each other. The chairs were together. And I looked at it, and somehow I just got this feeling, yeah, I guess I do belong here. There's my chair with Cameron Mitchell. So I guess I'm in the right place. So always remember that feeling.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then last night I watched the classic episode of Seinfeld you were on.
Wasn't that fun? Yeah, the cable guy.
Yeah.
That was a trip. Good stuff. And I was working Grace Under Fire right across the alley there in the studio at the same time, and I had a week off, so they got to work me on Seinfeld. And that was at a time when Brett was having so much trouble So we didn't rehearse ever. She didn't want to rehearse, and so we kind of like took our chances with how it was going to go on. And then I get over to work on Seinfeld, and Michael Richards wanted to work every minute. Let's try that. Can we do that one more time? Can you come back early from lunch? Can we work on that a little bit?
Yeah.
And that's when it got so good, because he and the whole cast just didn't rest until it was perfect. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, what a relief as an actor to be on a set where working and rehearsing is considered a luxury and a great thing rather than some task you have to do. So it felt good. And that's why it came out so good. I love him. I think he's wonderful. Michael Richards. I watch him every night. I watch Seinfeld almost every night. Mm-hmm. I can't get enough of the characters and how perfectly drawn they are. I mean, that character of George and his absurdity and how he gets away with stuff. It's a great series. I'm so glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's something that's so funny, too. Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian, and, like, I know a lot of stand-up comedians, especially ones who, like, knew him, like, back in the, like, 70s and 80s, and they've all told me, like, that incident he had at the Laugh Factory, he was doing that, like, back then, but now the digital age has happened, and that's why he got in trouble.
Yeah, that's terrible that he's defined by that rather than his great work. Yeah, unfortunate. Okay, what's next?
Oh, I wanted to ask you. So how did you end up in the unfortunate circumstances of a wheelchair?
Well, I've been overweight for a lot of years, and I've been a major jock. So I'd go to the YMCA and play basketball 5 times a week when I wasn't working. Nice. And I just put too much pressure on the knees. So I was working with a movie with Tommy Lee Jones in Texas called Good Old Boys. Mm-hmm. And the right knee just started to bother me so much I couldn't even, I had to prop it up so it wouldn't hurt. And came back and got an emergency surgery on my right knee. That one was fine. Yeah. It never had any problems. And then about 6 months later, they said, you have to do the left knee. That's going to have the same problems soon if you don't get that taken care of. And I did that left knee, and about 6 months after we were done with the surgery and I was recovering in rehab, it got infected. Nobody knew why or how. It just got infected. So they had to take out the prosthetic, wash it, put me on antibiotics for 3 months, and then put it back in, did it again, it got infected again. Uh-huh. So since it started, I've had 19 surgeries on that left leg. And the leg has gotten so weak that I can't walk at all. So I'm in a wheelchair, and I just found some therapy that I'm sure will work. I've had some shots that got me good enough to be able to work on Twin Peaks last year. But I haven't gotten anything that's taken me over the top and gotten rid of it 100%. They want to go in and do another surgery, but I just learned a little bit about something called ozone therapy, which they take your blood, they pass it through this thing that makes the ozone amounts in the blood get stronger. It purifies the blood and it destroys all infections. It's very popular in Europe. It's pretty popular in LA, and California has it too. But it's expensive, I'm about to buy a machine that I can use at home that works with water and a lot of other things to ozone your system out and make the purity in your body happen. And then to do it in a doctor's office where they actually take out your blood. Mm-hmm. They purify it and then put your own blood back in. That's real expensive. So I have to raise about $20,000 to make this happen. But they're pretty much convincing me. Everybody I talk to, people that have had the surgery, not surgery, but the treatments, people that have had this happen to them, had very, very similar histories. Some people about to have legs amputated and things about to given up on. It's funny about regular medicine in this country, probably all over the world, but there is no money in curing people. There's a lot of money in keeping people sick and keep renewing prescriptions And so a lot of these things aren't approved of in this country because the pharmaceutical companies won't let that happen. But some of the shots I was getting before were from Mexico and not approved here.
Mm-hmm.
They were the only things that got my body better. And this ozone therapy, which is approved of here, is not covered by insurance. You know, even though I have great insurance with the SAG insurance, I don't have anything to cover this. So you want to get that taken care of, even though it's the only thing that's going to work. You got to take it out of your own pocket. So
yeah,
that's why I plead to all of you, if you can possibly give anything, $20, $10, $100. I just got $250 from Michael J. Fox, who, of course, is going through his own shit. You know, he's going through his own problems, but he can relate. And, you know, we got to be nice friends when I worked on Family Ties. And, you know, he's donated some money. Anyway, I'm so grateful. It's great. David Lynch gave me $1,000 help with this. So, you know, good people around. I just got to reach them.
Yeah.
So, anyway, maybe you can post it or tell people about it at the end of the talk if they can go. And like I said, if I've ever made you laugh or made you happy or you feel good about something I did for you, this is a chance to pay it back if you can. Even though you don't, you know, actors don't do it to be paid back. But in this particular scene, I do need your help. Please, I want to walk. I got more things to do. I've been writing plays, little one-act plays. One of my first ambition as a 10-year-old was to be a writer. My son's a writer. Mm-hmm. My son just sold his third screenplay, so he's doing good. He's reaching his dreams.
Nice.
But I'm going to do an evening of one-acts of my one-act plays sometime in July here in L.A.
Nice.
So, yeah, so I like writing, but I want to act again. There's some amazing feeling I had doing Twin Peaks again because I don't want my main identity to be this invalid.
Yeah.
Walter, that's the guy in the wheelchair. I want to be the guy that used to be in the wheelchair. And I think I have a lot more to give.
Yeah, they told me I wasn't going to walk again after my accident, but I started walking, and I got right out of the hospital that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes courage, boy. Good for you. Good for you.
I mean, I got arthritis and everything, but that's what comes with it.
You have to look at these ozone therapy. It's supposed to be very good for arthritis, so help each other that way.
Absolutely.
You can borrow my machine when I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you sound in good spirits, because I'll tell you, I've interviewed a couple guys on here, a couple actors that have multiple sclerosis, and they are bitter because they never got to finish their career the way they wanted to, and after a while, they didn't even want to talk about their career anymore, and it's like, I don't even know why they granted me an interview in the first place.
Yeah.
It's sad. You know?
Well, I think I've been blessed up the kazoo. My God, how many people have had as many wonderful experiences as I've had, the opportunities that I've had. I've been blessed. My son's wife just gave birth, and I'm a grandfather for the first time as of about 4 months ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, little Sadie Olkewicz, born in 5 months ago.
Oh.
So I am blessed. Now I just want to get better so I can go play with her. I don't want to just, have her sit on my lap in the wheelchair. That's the only exchange we have together.
Yeah.
So, well, good for you. I'm pleased to hear about your coming out of the hospital and walking again. We got to fight, don't we? Got to fight. Life's a battle, and I kind of think we're on this planet to help each other. So,
of course.
The thing is, until this happened, I was helping people all the time. I just always loved helping people. It always felt so good. Somebody came with a problem and they needed, I'd either find somebody to get what they needed or donate myself, because I always felt like so much had been given to me. I have to give back.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't mind asking now, though it's hard. It's really hard to ask,
Yeah.
I got some run-in the other day on the internet with somebody that said, "Wait a minute, didn't this been going on for years?" And I said, "Yeah, tell me about it. I wish it weren't. You asked for money 4 years ago." Yeah, I know. I said, "Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I'd like to be on this end of it. I'll trade places with you." But
Yeah.
Must be some kind of scam. Okay. but it feels bad. I then don't call anybody else to ask for help for the next 2 hours because somebody told some lie online that, well, I heard this isn't even really true. It's really just a scam. How do you deal with that? Anyway. A lot more good people than people that do that, so I'll take it. Every 100 people that I talk to that has that attitude is okay to deal with, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, Walter, I thank you so much for taking the time today.
That was a pleasure.
I just know you're going to get that 20 grand, and I like to connect with you on Facebook so I can see you up to date with that.
Okay. Well, please do that. That'd be great.
Yes.
All right, man.
And I know
thank you, and thank you to your whole audience, and God bless you all, and thank you.
And I know you're just going to walk again. I just know it.
All right. I'm with you, buddy.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, and have a great day, sir.
Good night, buddy.
Good night. Well, there you have it. Walter Olkewicz. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, Walter. You're a very inspiring person, and I'm glad that you have the attitude that you have to walk again and win in the end, and I will be praying for you. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on Twitter, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks.